Hello, everybody. Andrea Pacini here from Ideas on Stage. Welcome to another episode, another interview. I'm super excited today because I have a wonderful guest. I'm here with Sapna Pieroux. Sapna is a branding and design expert. She is the founder of a branding consultancy here in London, Inner Visions ID. And she's also the author of an excellent book, Let's Get Visible, which is going to be published very soon. Sapna, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, Sapna. So today what we talk about is, of course, your area of expertise, branding and design. Mm-hmm. Before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, your story, and why branding?
Okay. Well, where do I start? My background is in graphic design. So I studied graphic design at Newcastle University, and then did a postgrad in marketing though, because I realised that most designers don't really understand the marketing side of things, and most marketers don't understand the design side of things. And certainly, you know, a lot of marketers were on the client side that weren't really understanding. So I figured that if I had an understanding of both sides, then I'd be able to cross that bridge and you know, sort of close that communications gap. And I was only a graduate at that point, but I soon realised that was actually the case. My first job was actually I landed a job in media, nothing to do with design, but it was as a result of my marketing course. And so I was then working in business and business to consumer marketing for a bunch of radio stations. It was a radio station group called Metro Radio Group, and I was having to brief design agencies myself, because as part of the marketing team, and I realized that the stuff that was coming back wasn't as expected, and there was lots of back and forth. I'm sure any listeners out there or viewers who've had to commission design have maybe experienced some of the frustrations that I was going through at the time. And of course, my solution was that I turned to my boss and said, we could do this better, faster, cheaper if we bring it in-house, which is what we did. But not everybody else has that luxury. So I then ended up doing the design side for the 7 radio stations, and then we started doing stuff for our clients as well. And then I went and worked for some design agencies and experienced being what it was like, being told what to do by clients. And again, experienced frustrations on that side from clients who didn't understand design and were trying to design it themselves via me. So I found that quite frustrating as well. So I've worked on both sides. I've worked in media. I then went on to, I kind of missed working in media. So I went back into radio and worked in sponsorship and promotions. Which is, when you hear radio promotions, they say, next week we're giving you the chance to win with, well, it was me that came up with those ideas for the competitions. So I would deal with a client like perhaps Selfridges or Kellogg's or Toyota, and come up with ideas to launch their new products or brands. And then we would come up with what listeners had to do in order to be in with a chance to win. I'd make it come alive on air. So it's, again, getting businesses' brand messages out there, getting them engaged with their audiences, and then I'd be fulfilling the prizes as well. And sometimes looking after the winners if we had to take them to events.
So there are winners. There are winners,
yeah. So I was the person that had to phone them up as well, and actually it was brilliant. It was really nice actually being able to make someone's day,
Of course, yeah.
And I got to go on a few jollies myself, so I managed to go to the Mobos and the Empire Awards and the Brit Awards, sort of taking competition winners.
Nice. And Sapna, you mentioned already, so this bridge at the beginning between branding and marketing, design and marketing. And one of your, I don't know whether I can call it mantra, but I see online you say branding that means business.
Yes.
So you have this connection between branding and business. What's the connection?
It's everything. I mean, for me, I think if you go ahead and a client gets their logo done and does it without aligning it to their business strategy and their goals, we start, because of my marketing background, I always start every design brief with, well, what's the goal? What's the business goal? What's the big vision? So I have a vision process that I've developed. And we start off with the first of the 6 stages, VISION, is visualize. So it's like, where are you now and where do you want to go? What are your brand aspirations? What are your company aspirations? And also, what does your customer want in working with you? If they're spending money with you, what's their big goal? What's their big dream? Because we have to align that. And I think a lot of the design process is, you know, clients give the designers a brief and the designer takes it away and goes and designs. And then they come back and they show it to the client, and the client might like it and they might not, and then there might be back and forth. But actually the designer might not have said, well, what's the big goal? What's the big vision? So we start with business strategy, and then we build the brand. We then look at the non-visual parts of the brand, which is what I call the inner brand. And that's your brand values, your brand personality, your brand voice. So none of this is visual yet, but it's about understanding. So once you've got that, then you can actually build a brand that ties in and that aligns and supports your business goals. And because I think if you're just doing a logo and you're not doing that, then you're just creating a pretty picture, right? So, and you know, you might feel happy when you look at it, but if it's not communicating the right message to your target market, then it's wasted money. So you know, that's the process we take people through. The S stands for stand out, where we do the competitor analysis and actually work out what your industry norms and cliches are, because in every industry there are norms, and in every industry there are cliches. You know, estate agents always use houses or keys or a pair of hands, like this.
Sure.
Yeah, so those are the cliches, and then we decide how we're going to make you look different and stand out in your industry. So the big promise of Let's Get Visible, the book, is that you'll get brand clarity, you stand out in your industry, and that helps you supercharge your business growth.
So that's the connection between branding and business, very clear. And because you mentioned your process, the vision process, I also saw you talking about that and talking about the 3, if I understood well, correct me if I'm wrong, the 3 key pillars around it, which is, I think, do, say, see, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
No, this is always a bit of a penny drop moment when I present this, actually. And I don't know if you need, if you want a visual, I can show you a visual, but I don't know how we'll do that technically.
Yeah, we'll just have a conversation. Yeah.
So if you can imagine 3 circles in a Venn diagram, sort of triangular sort of setup they're all overlapping, and it was in my years of dealing with clients and entrepreneurs almost exclusively over the last 4 years. I could see the pattern in how they build their businesses. And this is how it goes. So the number 1 is their do. So when you're starting a business, you're obviously going to focus on what it is you're going to do to make money. So that might be a product or service or a range of products or services. You then look at the systems and processes you're going to need in order to be able to deliver that. The staff, is it just you? Do you need a team? Is it one-to-one? Is it one-to-many? How are you going to deliver this? What are the nuts and bolts and the systems and the equipment you need? Do you need transport? Do you need, a laptop? These are all functional parts of the business. So it can also take into account what your customer experience will be and your customer journey. The second part, so once you've got that, then it's like, well, how do I tell people about it? Because if you don't tell anyone about it, nobody knows you've got a business, right? So that's why people go on, sort of hone their pitch, and they put their social media out there, and they write blogs, and they do podcasts and chats like this, sort of get yourself out there to get your word out there. So this is about communicating your message and making people realize and understand what it is that you do. That's your say. It is the written and the spoken word. And of course, the ultimate one is the book as well, So once that's a big part of my say now, and how my message is going to get out to a wider audience. So people do that, and then they forget about the C. They leave it till last. or because they've spent all the money on the say, they try and do it on the cheap, or they try it doing themselves. So I've had one client who actually got her mum to do her logo for her. Or she had a logo, but then she wanted an update for the logo. So she actually asked her mum to do it, bless, or maybe her mum offered. But obviously it wasn't right, and that's when she came to me. But, you know, people just sort of fudge that bit at the end, don't realise that each of these three, do, say, and see, are important to building your brand. Your brand in the middle, where they all overlap, is when do, say, and see perfectly align and support each other.
Right. So if one element is missing, it's not going to work.
Right. So it's like a three-legged stool. It's like, you know, you take one leg away and it's going to topple. It might, you know. So, for example, if your do is you've got a great product and service and your pitch is on point, everybody understands it. But then they go to your website, and if you've been on those websites where like it's slow to load, or it looks rubbish, or you know, the logo's crap, or somebody gives you a business card and it's on thin card and it doesn't look good. How do you feel? How do you feel, Andreas? You know yourself that with what you do, the impact that actually how things look is really important. So you've got 7 seconds to make an impact, right? Before people decide if they're going to work with you or not. 7 seconds. You haven't got time to say your entire pitch in that time. You haven't got time to tell them what you do. It's mainly based on visual cues that people make up their mind. And that's done within a few seconds. And certainly on Facebook feeds, and if you go online and you can't find that information, then you're going to go away. So that's the C. If you have an amazing product or service and your website looks amazing as well, you know, loads up quickly and it's fantastic, but then have you been on these websites where you're kind of like, but I can't find out what they do?
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, absolutely. What do you do? Yeah.
How are you going to help me? I can't find the information that I'm looking for. I can't work out what you do. I don't know how to contact you. So that's when you've got an incoherent business. So the first one was an invisible business. If your C is on point. The second one is that you can have an incoherent business when your business doesn't make sense, the pitch doesn't make sense. I don't quite understand what they're doing, and I can't find the information that I want. So that's where your say is not right, and again you'll lose business. The worst one though is if you've got the say and the C aligned, and so you have got your amazing pitch, your website and your brochures look amazing. You're selling people the dream, and you fail to deliver. So the actual the product. So I spent my money, and now I feel ripped off, right? Because so that obviously the best example of that of recent times was Fire Festival.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So on Netflix, the documentary, yeah.
Right, yeah, but it was billed as the biggest luxury music festival that was ever going to happen on this amazing island and it was promoted on Instagram with you know, supermodels and rap stars on boats, you know, sort of looking like something like the Duran Duran video. That's an old reference. Sorry, I've just dated myself. But it's, you know, it was sold as the dream, and thousands of influencers spent thousands of pounds selling, you know, buying these tickets, and there was nothing there. So in the very worst case, you could end up in prison because you've defrauded, as this guy did. But you know, at the other end, you end up with hacked off clients who haven't got what they want, and then they leave you bad reviews. So you know, that can kill a business straight away. So each of these things have got to align and support each other, and it's about consistency, because people trust consistency. And building a brand and increasingly branding is more and more important. There are so many companies coming into the market that how do you stand out? How do you stand out from the deluge of, you know, if you type in personal trainers West London, I think you get 10.5 million hits. So, you know, what's that? How are you going to actually stand out? So my whole book is about, let's get visible. The whole ethos is we have to create something that makes you stand out from your marketplace, because the first thing that people will see is the visual. And only when they see you, if they're not seeing you, you're as good as invisible. Right? If you're not being seen, for all the effort you're putting into it, for no matter how good you are at what you do, no matter how brilliant your product or service is, you're not being seen, you're invisible, and other people are being more visible.
And I'm glad that you mentioned these things, because sometimes, I don't know, I guess you have a similar experience, but there are people and business owners who think that design, and we're talking about branding, but also specifically design, is a nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you talked about things, we understand from what you said that it's so much more than just a nice to have. Now, you mentioned already many things, but is there anything else? A business, why should a business care about design? Is it not just a nice to have?
No, I mean, there's millions spent on packaging. You ask the big brands, you know, like Kellogg's and Coca-Cola and whatever, about is design a nice to have? I mean, firstly, you know, having a consistent mark and a consistent look, as I said before, helps you stand out in a crowded marketplace. People are very visual. We are visual creatures. And that stems from like way back when we were cavemen, right? It's a method of survival. If your fruit looks ripe, it's good to eat. If it's moldy, it's bad to eat. You gauge this from sight, right? So we are attracted to people with symmetrical faces because from olden days, a symmetrical face implied that a disease-free upbringing. So, you know, you're more likely to have a healthy and disease-free upbringing if you've got a symmetrical face. Women's hourglass figures are seen as more attractive than the middle-aged spread, because that's the shape that we tend to have when we're a childbearing age, you know. So again, we're kind of genetically wired to seek the better looking option. And we do judge books by their cover. You know, everyone goes, you can't judge a book by its cover, but actually,
I love yours, by the way. I love your cover.
that was I actually put out 2 draft copies on LinkedIn, and the one that I wanted was absolutely annihilated, and it had spots on it, and I was like, oh, I really want the spots. And I went to see Bridget Riley at the weekend just after that, and I was just like so depressed because I couldn't have the spots, but I just worked at it and made it work, because the people, I took on board the client feedback and made it work. Yeah, thank you.
No, okay. And
so as in design being a nice to have, I mean, obviously what I do, I wouldn't consider a nice to have. I personally see the transformation that happens when I work with business owners. I mean, one client actually put up their prices for a certain product that they were selling, £1,600, and they put it up after their rebrand, £2,600. Nothing else about the product had changed. But they said they felt more comfortable asking for more money because they looked the part. It looked the part, and it looked expensive, and it looked higher end. They felt put together. They felt more confident. They've told me that they've won business. They know they've won business because of their branding. So that's, you know, and as I say, you look more professional. If you actually invest that time, you will make your money back. Absolutely. And I time and time again, I see so many of my clients go on to great things. And I'm not saying it's because of me, but certainly it gives them a platform that actually other people take them more seriously. Right? So it's not just about you having the confidence to put yourself out there and go for the business that you really want. But when you do put yourself in front of them, then they're not looking at you thinking, well, you know, who are they? Because you look established, you look bigger, you look more established, you look more authoritative with the right branding in place. And I've seen it time and time again.
Definitely. So, it's not just a nice to have. And now, talking about these, you shared an example of the impact, the business impact of certain choices from a design and branding perspective. And I was browsing on LinkedIn recently, and I saw one of your posts where you shared the little story of, and I'm not going to spoil it now because I would love you to share with the audience, about I don't remember the details, but you were talking about a jail that was painted in pink, and that did something. So you were talking about the fact that colors and your color choices can help you win more sales. And I was intrigued by that title. So would you like to tell us about this?
Yeah, the little story that you were about to tell, Andrea, was it's a Mason County, Texas jail that famously, and you can Google this story if you don't believe me, guys, but it's the sheriff decreed that everything in the jail, in his men-only jail, should be coloured pink. And that was the pink walls and pink towels and pink outfits that the guys had to wear, pink bedding, the lot. And what they found was literally, like almost immediately, fights within the prison dropped to virtually zero. And I'm guessing it's because it's quite hard to be the hard man if you're dressed like a baby girl. But also, what was really powerful was that reoffending rates went down by 70%. So, because the guys were too embarrassed to go back in, they didn't want to be caught. They didn't want to offend again and be arrested again, because they didn't want to have to be seen picking up litter, you know, by their mates dressed in pink. And that tactic has been taken on board by several prisons all over the world. I think there's one in Switzerland as well now, and it's kind of spread. I think they should do it for all prisons. I think it'd be quite interesting and funny. But my point was that if colour can have such a strong and immediate impact on people, even hardened criminals, what is colour going to do in order to influence your clients? So, it's about using colour. And there's an anecdote I talk about in the book, and I think it was 7-Up, and they increased the amount of yellow on the can by 15%. And people were testing it and actually saying, yeah, no, that's a lot more lemony. That was a lot more lemony. So you can mess with people's heads. You can actually really affect them and affect their perceptions of your brand by using the right colours. So it's not enough to just pick your favourite colours, because there are meanings, and there's colour psychology. There are cultural meanings as well to colour. So that's something to bear in mind. So if you're building an international brand, be aware of that as well. So it's kind of a lot deeper than just going, yeah, I'll have red.
Fascinating. It's fascinating. And
yeah.
another thing that I guess can also tell something about your business, your brand, who you are, how you show up, is typography. Isn't that true?
Yeah. So I would say there's 3 elements to building your brand. So it's typography, color, and imagery. Pretty much everything that you will produce is a combination of those 3. I mean, we start with the logo because that is the one mark that is probably going to appear on every single piece of your collateral. And if you've only got one thing that you can show up with, it will be your logo. So, but again, that's a combination of typography, color, and imagery. Not always imagery, but sometimes imagery. So, so we start with typography, and there's like over 100,000 typefaces in the world, certainly in the Latin alphabet. So it's about choosing the right one. Again, it's not good enough to just choose one that you like, or even just go with the default ones in your Microsoft Office package, because everybody else has got those. You're not going to look very considered and designed. So we work with our clients. We make sure that we've gone through the visualize stage, we've gone through the inner brand stage, really looked at their brand values, establish the brand personality and the brand voice, and then make sure that the typefaces reflect that brand personality. If you're going to say that your brand personality is friendly and open and honest, you're not going to have like a spiky font, because that will give the wrong impression. So a lot of masculine brands, they may use a strong, bold, all capitals. There's not all, but that's one way that you could convey masculinity, is in a chunky font. I don't know if you're aware of the Man Cave logo. I actually use that as an example in my book, but that's like a real solid, strong, manly kind of logo. But you can use capitals and actually be quite sophisticated with them. So if you think about the Joe Malone logo, which again I kind of allude to in there. So depending on the weight of your font and the style of your font, and I kind of go into quite a lot of depth about serifs. What's the difference between a serif font and a sans serif, or a decorative font or a script font? When should you use this? When should you not use this? Another of my clients, Lorna Reeves of My Weddings, she's actually the wedding planner of the year 2019. So again, it's like one of my clients has gone on to do amazing things. I'm very, very proud of her. But her wedding company is for the LGBTQ market.
Oh, right.
So when we started doing her competitor analysis, we had to look at the LGBTQ market, but also the wedding market. And of course, the wedding market is predominantly targeted at brides. So you can imagine what that looked like. It was pink. It was, swirly fonts, pink and gold, swirly fonts, and hearts, bells, flowers, wedding rings, brides and grooms. None of this, it was all too girly. And obviously, with Lorna's clients, it might be two guys, right? Because LGBTQ, you could have two guys or two women who were coming to their services. We couldn't do that. So we steered away from the floral fonts, and we went for something much cleaner and more elegant and classic looking, that then would appeal to male and female. And rather than going down the pink route, we took a soft dove grey. But again, it was just sort of classic and elegant and clean. So it's a combination, but you've got to get the right typeface first. And we always design in black and white first, because the type has got to look good in one colour. Sometimes your type will only appear in one colour. Say if you're sponsoring an event and all the logos have been made the same colour at the bottom, right? So they all look uniform. It needs to work in one colour, reversed out or positive. Reversed out is when it's a white logo. And then only then, once the logo is perfect in its purest form, do we move to colour. And then we start looking at colour and what's going to work to tie in with your brand personality.
And thanks for sharing all these examples, because I hope that people, our listeners here, really understand, because we started by saying that your mantra, no? Branded and means business, that there is this strong connection between branding and business. And with these examples, I hope people understand that there is a strong bridge, a strong connection between branding and business. Actually, talking about typography, I saw you on one of your articles, I think on your website. I don't know whether you have it now in the book, but I think you showed an example, maybe you created it, I'm not sure, of the Gucci logo.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was because sometimes if people are not into design and typography, if you tell them, yes, typography has an impact on the way you communicate and you show up, and then they say, okay, I get it. But then when they see the example, and I would encourage everybody to check it out on your website, you see the actual Gucci logo and a logo that you recreated, I guess, with a different font, and you really
I use the designer's most maligned font, San. So, anybody could do this anyway themselves, but if you see an image of the Gucci logo, the real Gucci logo, and then you type the same word out and put it in a different font, and I use Comic Sans as probably the most idiotic looking font that you could come up with for a brand as high end as Gucci. You put the two together and you can kind of suddenly see what a different typeface will do for you, and there's no change of there's no other context, there's no imagery, there's no color, it's just those two together, and you kind of go, yeah, bang, okay, I get it now.
It's massive. Yeah, the understanding that you get by looking at that comparison is massive. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we talked about quite a few things already. Are there perhaps any other things or maybe mistakes based on your experience, Sapna? Any key mistakes that businesses make when they think about branding and design, in addition to what you already shared, if there is anything?
So obviously, lack of strategy. So lack of strategy is the big one, where people just think, and also people just thinking they can do it themselves. And the two quite often go together.
Or their mum.
Or their mum. That only happened once. Well, to my knowledge anyway. But it almost doesn't depend so much on how much you're spending. It's more if you don't have a strategy, and if you do try and do it the cheap route, they won't have a strategy for you to follow, and then they're not that interested because it's fast turnaround. So it needs, and actually the big mistake is people not thinking that it matters. Oh, that'll do. We'll slap it on there. That'll do, and actually not realizing how much it's damaging their brand. People who say, oh, I can't afford to brand. I can't afford to brand. I'd say, can you afford not to brand? Because you don't know how many sales you're losing. That's that bad branding or no branding is silently losing you sales, and you have no idea. And so once people have got branded by me, I can see the turnaround in their businesses. I had another client, Jo Baldwin Trott. Again, she's in the book, and she was a stylist, so she's a personal brand consultant. And I met her actually through the Mummy Network. She was just a mum at my school, and she was talking about what she did. And I spoke to her because I thought I could do with her help, actually, because I was getting more speaking engagements. And I realised after I'd been filmed that because I wear a lot of black, or I wore a lot of black before I worked with Jo, that she would. Sorry, my throat's dry. Just have a little sip of.
Yeah, take your time.
I asked her if she could help me. Because I needed, I saw myself in black, and I just blended in with the crowd. I'm quite petite, and you just couldn't see me, just saw this little floating head amongst the crowd. So I thought, oh, that's why speakers wear colour. That's why speakers should wear colour, right? So her big thing was all about colour. So I asked her to help me. She handed me her card, and I looked at it. And if I hadn't been a mum at school, I wouldn't have believed that she could make me look good based with that card, right? Because the card was dated. It was, again, it's on the website and it's in the book, so you can see what I'm talking about. It looked girly, it looked floral. It was totally not me. It was totally not her, to be fair. And she admitted she'd had it done about 4 or 5 years ago, and it didn't really represent who she was right now. So there's the other thing, is that people get a brand done and then they think that that's right for them forever. And if you don't change your brand, I'm not saying you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Coca-Cola's logo has been around forever, but there's tiny tweaks that keep it looking modern. Same with Ford, same with McDonald's. Tiny tweaks to the branding will keep you looking fresh and modern. She hadn't changed hers for 4 or 5 years, and her business had changed and she'd changed. So I just said, look, let's swap services, because I need to restyle her. And we worked together, and she had so much stuff on the back of her card. It was actually a card that was like A6 size. She had so much information on there. She had 2 testimonials on the back. She had all her contact details. She was on Insta and Twitter and Facebook, and it all gets very messy. And when we were working together, I said, well, hang on a minute, you're the only Jo Baldwin Trott in the world, aren't you? And she said, yes. So I said, well, why don't you just put your name on your card and nothing? And she was like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I thought I'd put that ringer on silent. I'm not very good with tech. Sorry.
No worries. It's just an informal chat. No problem.
Yeah. So we just put her name on the card, and her favourite teal green on the back. So it was her logo was her name, and her just on the back was just teal green, nothing else. And we put a lovely silver edge on her card, that just like a foil edge. So it just catches the light as she hands it. And she said her business took off within the next couple of months. And it's been growing ever since, because suddenly she felt more confident. The cards have become a talking point when she hands them out. She was actually too embarrassed to hand out her cards before, which can't really help if you grow your business mainly through networking, right? She was too embarrassed to hand them out before. So it gave her a talking point. People love the card. It polarized some, so she said they were a bit Marmite, but she found her tribe and she said she did have one woman who looked at it and went, oh, they forgot to print the details on the back. but people get it, because she's all about personal brand. So all you need to know is her name. It's like, what do people do anyway? If you've got an unusual name, use it. Because people will just Google you. Before they're going to spend any money with you, they will Google you anyway.
I like this approach, because I can see that, of course, you start with an objective, a business objective, and then you go backwards and come up with some branding and design choices. So great approach. And you mentioned before that sometimes it's nice to have to tweak, perhaps, or to update your it could be your logo, your brand in general. Would you recommend that happens or over a few years, after a few years? Is there a general rule? How does it work?
No, there's no set rule. I would say, so when I work with startups, and I work with established businesses and startups, when I work with startups, I always say, when we're doing the visualize phase, look to where your business you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Because I think that when you first get your branding done, you can only look really to the next 3 to 5 years. What else can you do in terms of business planning anyway? So we look at 3 to 5 years, because also visual trends change, technology is going to change. There's lots of different things that are going to come along that can soon start to date you. If you're kind of thinking, well, I'm going to get my logo done and that's going to last me forever. Your business will change. Your business will evolve. There'll be external trends, but also within your business. So if you keep your image static, you're sending out a very strong message to the market that your business hasn't changed. Now, to a certain degree, that's a good thing, because we want consistency. But there is this dichotomy, which I think Alan Garnett talks about it in The Creative Curve, where we have the human need for comfort and for consistency, but we also have a craving for novelty and excitement. And so your branding needs to stay consistent to convey that you are a solid company that's not going to go away, but then you have little tweaks and do slightly different things. And that doesn't mean messing with the brand. It means doing it with a strategy and not just doing it for no reason. It's not like, oh, today I want my logo in pink. It's not that, but it's having that consistency, but then evolving it over time as your business evolves. And I wouldn't advise doing it if your business hasn't evolved. But if your business hasn't evolved over 5 years, then what are you doing? It should be evolving. Yeah. And that might be, it's not that you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm working with another company called Coaching Impact, and lovely lady, they sent me a present today to say thank you for the work that I've done with them. So that was lovely. So they have been going 10 years. And more and more associates joining the team. More and more people producing collateral, and actually, so there's somebody over here doing presentations and somebody over here commissioning brochures, and it all started to spiral very quickly out of control, because everything changes. So everybody thinks, oh, we can take that change a little bit and then a little bit. Everything's so when I started working with them, I kind of pulled it all together, and it was the first time I think that they'd actually seen it all laid out together, and I was like, wow, there's a lot going on here and we need to simplify. So what we've done is taken an established brand, and I've done this with a lot of established companies, that you take the established brand and you I call it evolution, not revolution. You don't throw the baby out. There's some, they liked their logo, but we just put it in a more solid color. It had a gradient before and you couldn't really see it. So it's like tweaks. But we've done a lot of tweaks, and it actually looks amazingly different, but still recognizably of their brand. So that's, that'll be a case study coming out next year, because we've just about wrapped up that project now with them. But and that took 3 or 4 months to kind of change everything. But yeah, it's about evolution, not revolution. Don't throw if something's working. I do a traffic light system when I take people on board, and if they've got an existing brand, I do a brand assessment. And I kind of put all the elements of their collateral into red, orange, or green. So it's like the red ones are obviously that's not working for you, and we need to get rid of that. Orange is, well, it could work for you, but it probably needs a little bit of tweaking. So let's refine that. And green is like, yeah, that's working for you. Let's keep it as it is. We can go with that. So there's an element of let's just break it down, see what's working for you. We don't have to throw everything away.
It's interesting. We use the same technique when we help our clients prepare their presentation. So when we brainstorm together to find the key messages, we use the traffic light technique. So red means these are things you don't want to say. You need to avoid them at all costs. Then yellow is bonus points. I mean, you can say them. It's really up to you. And then the green ones are the things you absolutely have to say.
Yeah.
So a similar approach.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's a language that people understand, right? So
yeah, good. And last question, Sapna, you mentioned a word which I love very much when it comes to design. You said you were talking about one of your examples, one of your case studies. We had to simplify, simplicity. I know it's difficult perhaps to explain this concept maybe without any visual, but what would you say to really make sure that people understand, especially in business, the value of simplicity in design? What would you say?
Again, it brings it back to this: you've got 7 seconds to make an impact. You'll know this with the slides, that you do. You don't want too much copy on there, right? No. But all those cliches like a picture paints 1,000 words. It's because it's true. So you can get a mood or a feeling across much more easily with visuals than you can with words, and you can convey emotions. Generally, clients come to me if they want us to do their brochures. They always come to me with too much copy. Always. I'm sure you see this as well.
Same with presentations, yeah.
It's the same. I mean, what we do, it aligns so well. But yeah, I always say half it. Write your brochure copy, then half it. It's like packing for a holiday. Pack your case, and then you half it. And actually, for website, then I'd half it again. So because on websites, but people with brochures will have a little bit more time to sit and peruse them, and they're generally on their own and have a cup of coffee. So they'll spend a bit more time with your brochure than they will on your website. You've got even less time to make an impact there, especially if they're accessing on mobile, which 70% of people do now.
So brochure and then website, you half it again, and then for slides, we half it again.
Right, okay, yeah. So,
absolutely, yeah. Okay, so I think we've pretty much done. We haven't talked about your book in detail. I hope we've covered some of the topics that are in there, but is there anything else? Like, would you like to tell us? Because the book will be out in a few days, 2020.
Yeah. So we've got a secret book launch. No, you should be telling everyone, right? But well, I'm actually doing a special offer. And for people that sign up to letsgetvisibleBook.com.
Okay, we'll put the link in the description.
That's brilliant, thanks. LetsgetvisibleBook.com. Go on to there, you'll find out a little bit more about the book. Just pop your email address in there, and we will let you know when, because we're doing a special 2-day launch where the book will be available on Kindle for only 99 pence.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a little gift to your readers, your viewers, and your listeners. But if they go on there, sign up, we'll let them know when the secret price drop is, and then they can get the book for 99 pence. So
okay, fantastic. And I would encourage everybody here to do it, because I know 100% sure it will be a super valuable book for you for 2020 and onwards to supercharge your branding, your design, and your business as a result.
And leave me a review. Sorry, I forgot to say, if they leave me a review, nice 5-star review on Amazon, please. You will also get entered into a draw to win tickets to the official book launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So we'll put the link in the description of the video. Sapna, thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners have learned so much as well. Also, we are going to do an event together. I think the date hasn't been officialized yet. We're looking at March, and also for our listeners here, it will be a sort of 2-hour event where Sapna will go deeper and tell you everything you need to know in order to, from a branding and design perspective. I will go deeper into my world of effective presentations and public speaking. And so if you're interested, if you're in London.
And communicating more clearly, right? That's the whole shtick is about looking great and communicating clearly, which is the two of them.
Absolutely, and that's where the connection is. So I'm looking forward to sharing the stage with you, Sapna. And for those who are around in London, come and join us in March. We'll put the details in the description as well. And Sapna, thanks again. And
Andrea.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.